Mr. Stephen Allen's somenews.co.uk, the podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Some News podcast. Normally I start off by mentioning what's changed since the last one, but thinking about it, Pistorius is still not in jail, there's conflict in the Middle East, and Scotland is still part of the UK. All of that effort and absolutely nothing has changed. Well, the only thing that came out of that referendum is that now we know what Andy Murray thinks. Because he wouldn't say before, he wouldn't tell us what he thought about independence, but on the day before the vote, he tweeted, "No campaign negativity. Last few days totally swayed my view on it." And people gave him flack about that, and not just because of the bad impression. But no, we shouldn't give him flack. We don't know which way he was telling people to vote. He looks like the kind of man who really enjoys some negativity. Maybe that's what swayed his view. They look like the kind of negative people who might win a referendum and still look miserable about it. I can really relate to these guys. Well, that's all behind us now. The no vote won, and Scotland is back working with the other members of the UK, but with some additional independent powers. It's like when Robbie Williams rejoined Take That. Only Robbie used to be in the news because of his drinking and his obesity and his... Well, no, that actually was a pretty good example. Anyway, in this edition, Desperately Seeking Kim, Hip and Fappening, and Is You Is or Is You Ain't My ISIL. Let's crack on.
Mr. Stephen Allen's Some News podcast, the main news.
ISIS, a fanatical religious organisation or a Scottish person agreeing with their female sibling. It's terrifying. They've certainly been in the news a lot lately, but it's been a nightmare to set up a Google alert for. Because the name keeps changing. First, I set it up for ISIS, but then the politicians keep calling them ISIL, so I set one up for ISIL. Then they seem to be called IS for Islamic State. Do you know what a Google alert for the search term IS gets you? An inbox full of any news story that uses the verb to be. But then, Theresa May says that IS aren't Islamic and they're not a state. So what do we call them now? Just... Do I have to set up a Google alert for any news story where they've pressed the spacebar? If we all did that, it would bring the internet crashing to its knees. Maybe that's their plan. Ooh, sneaky. So, something has to be done and we find ourselves engaging in military action in Iraq again. Bombing a country is like police academy films. The more you do, the worse it seems, and it is horrible to watch. It feels like we're getting back with an X in some ways. You know, if you don't make a clean end of it, you always get drawn back in for a little extra. And all of the old players come out too. Tony Blair's been in the news. Not just because of ISIS. He was given a Philanthropist of the Year award by GQ magazine, and some people were upset, saying, "How can you give this warmonger this award?" Well, the award says of the year, and in the last 12 months, Tony Blair hasn't started any wars. This has been a good year for him. It's rewarding positive behaviour, for the same reason Jimmy Carr is up for Taxpayer of the Year. So, Tony Blair says, we have to be prepared to invade Iraq again. For a man whose job title is peace envoy, he's pretty good at delivering war. It's like the total opposite of what he's meant to be delivering. That's like a pizza delivery man bringing you something healthy. No. But a politician trying to redo their classics is hardly a new thing. To find out more, I'm joined by a political historian from Medeip University. So, this has been happening before.
Oh, yes. Winston Churchill was involved in government during both World Wars, and in many ways the second one went better for him.
I suppose, but a win's a win.
And thanks to a Freedom of Information Act request, we found that many other politicians tried to relive what they thought were their greatest moments.
Well, such as?
Margaret Thatcher was so proud of milk snatching, as it became known, she tried to remove even more milk from schools.
But it had already all been removed.
Yes, but she tried to introduce a scheme to milk any pets that the schools had.
Well, and did that work?
Well, our pet hamster was never the same again.
Interesting stuff. Thanks for joining me. So, Tony Blair said we might have to put boots on the ground. Politicians love that phrase, boots on the ground. Meanwhile, David Cameron has ruled out boots on the ground. To find out more, I'm joined on the line by a military advisor. So, is David Cameron right? No boots on the ground?
Oh, yes. Iraq is a very hot country. Boots would be all wrong. If anything, they should be discussing flip-flops on the ground.
I don't think the type of footwear is the worry.
Well, it should be. Wearing the wrong type of shoe makes all the difference. I remember we once tried doing training on Salisbury Plain in heels. I lost 6 good men.
Well, they died?
No, they were just lost. But would you stop to ask for directions if you were wearing heels?
Back to Iraq. Some are saying that airstrikes might not be enough. Can you foresee a time when David Cameron has to go back on his promise and we will be putting boots on the ground?
This is a difficult situation. that maybe boots on the ground is the only way to solve. But what we should definitely never do is have our soldiers in those boots.
Just send boots?
Airdrop them, yes.
And you think that will make a difference?
In a region where throwing a shoe is considered a great insult, I think they'll get the message.
Thanks for joining me.
The somenews.co.uk podcast.
From the light-hearted ISIS to something very serious indeed. Kim Jong-un has gone missing. This is serious, not like the last time he went missing. That time his security guards reported that he'd disappeared. Then they looked down a little, saw that he was stood right in front of them. He's been missing for over a month now, and he is hard to find. This is one of the downsides of making everyone in your country have the same haircut as you. The missing persons report just doesn't help.
So we're looking for a short man, dark hair, centre passing, chubby face. Is this him?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Live at the Apollo!
When I saw the headline saying, "The Supreme Leader has gone missing," I thought, what, Diana Ross? Wouldn't put it past her. If you were married to Paul Ross, you'd need some time to think. But the North Korean leader hasn't been seen in the public eye. At first, there were reports that he might have gout. That led to some confusing conversations.
Did you hear about Kim Jong-un? He's ill. No, his dad was ill. Ill? It's worse than that, he's dead. He's a gone. No, not an un. He's a gone ill. No, his son's gone ill. That's why he's not been at work. Who's on first?
There were claims that Kim Jong-un was suffering from a Swiss cheese addiction. Oh, my heart bleeds for you. I'd say hashtag first world problems, but North Korea isn't technically first world. If you're addicted to drugs and alcohol, that can rip your life apart. But if you just can't say no to expensive cheese, you're not an addict, you're a knob. You're a cheesy knob. Swiss cheese addiction. Like, here's a patch for you to help you quit. I say patch, it's a Dairy Lee slice, and I get lost. However, those ailments might have been a cover-up. The leader may be out of a job. So far, it's unconfirmed, but if you are an employer, keep an eye out for a CV from someone who fits his description.
Right, the next CV is from a short man, dark hair, centre passing, quite a chubby face. Hang on, this is Michael McIntyre.
His appearances are key to state propaganda over there, not like in this country, where they'd never roll out the royal family to cheer us up and take our mind off things when they're going bad. And what's that? Oh, another royal baby? Oh, wasn't nice. But with Kimmy not being spotted since the 3rd of September, and by not being spotted, I mean not being spotted, not even in those tabloid newspaper vague gossip bits.
Spotted. Which state leader was seen nipping out for cheese in the early hours? This lactose lover was heard mumbling about putting things in a drawer.
One theory is that his sister is now in charge, Kim Jo-jong. Well, I hope not. I've got nothing against her, but you can't take the fun out of that name, and she doesn't look like any UK comedians who've been on BBC One. I'll be out of a job at this rate.
The somenews.co.uk podcast.
The fappening continues. This is the release of those hacked celebrity nude photos. Just recently, the first male celeb to have his pics nicked from the iCloud saw them posted online. And finally, that's a strike for equality that we needed. There have been hundreds of female celebrities having their most private images plundered for the amusement of some internet sickos, but no men. And it started to make me think that no one cares about us men anymore. I mean, if we want the world to see our rude snaps, we have to find a Sunday Mirror journalist pretending to be a woman online and then send them ourselves. We do all the work. I feel sorry for Brooks Newmark, the MP who had to quit. I can't believe he had to quit just over sending rude pictures. He didn't do anything illegal. And do you think that sending dick pics will make him worse at his job? It's not affected me, and I've sent 3 during this podcast. That's not true, by the way. It's just a joke. It's just a joke. I've never taken a dick pic. Well, I've never sent a dick pic. We've all taken them, yeah, just to see what it would look like. Just, you know, I couldn't get the right angle, and that's why I'm going to buy the iPhone 6 Plus, so I can just bend it round and get right round there, and, you know, you'll see when I tweet it. Another breakthrough for equality was when the nude pictures of Matt Smith and his ex-girlfriend Daisy Lowe were put online. Now, we can assume that the internet sickos were perverting all over the pictures of Daisy, but it was Matt's celebrity status that saw this story on the front of the Daily Star. Yes, you see, we men, we're not just people, we're pieces of meat too, and it's about time society realised that. Some people, and by that I mean lots of people, have said that the victims of such hacking have themselves to blame, that if you don't want nude photos of yourself leaking onto the internet, don't take them. But I can't agree with that. Don't say that. Firstly, it's not their fault that these crimes were committed. And secondly, do you know how hard it is to get someone to send you a naked picture already without you chipping in with that making it worse? And do you know how many naked pictures are sent every day? Me neither. But let's say millions. Millions are sent every day and only a small fraction are actually leaked online. Statistically, That's safer than air travel, in that you are definitely less likely to die while taking a nude selfie. And pretty soon Ryanair will probably start charging you for the clothes that you wear, so the risk of people seeing you naked might be similar. Sending nude photos between two consenting adults, it's a fun thing to do. We shouldn't vilify it. We shouldn't stop having fun just because some disgusting people on the web are doing their hacking or whatever, or they'll win. But if you don't agree with me, if you want to be safe, don't just make sure you don't take the pictures. If you want to be really safe, you have to move to Russia. It was in the news that the Kremlin have been drawing up plans to remove Russia from the internet in the case of an emergency. To find out more, I'm joined by a Russian spokesman, Anton Logov. Why would Russia want to leave the web?
Are you kidding me? We need to get free of the internet before Westerners start nominating people in Russia to do Ice Bucket Challenge. If you live in a sunny place like Bogna, it's fine. If you do Ice Bucket Challenge in Siberia, you don't warm up again.
But how will you live without the internet?
We have made provisions so we have everything we need.
Well, such as?
We have printed off nearly 10,000 pictures of cats.
It's not just cats. What about things like Skype?
We will go back to letting our news reporters use normal video, and then we will edit in awkward pauses at the start of each sentence.
You really think there would be no downside to this, don't you?
We have based this on your own experiment into how people cope without the internet for long periods of time.
Our experiment?
Yes, I think it was called BT Broadband.
The somenews.co.uk podcast.
That's it for another episode. You can subscribe to these if you enjoyed it. Spread the word, send it to a friend or something. You can get it on iTunes. You can also get the podcasts of radio shows I do on iTunes as well now. Fancy pants. And there are videos from the Tuesday night gigs. All of it can be found on somenews.co.uk, or tweet me and say hello at Mr. Stephen Allen. Till next time, bye.
The Some News podcast. Get more at somenews.co.uk.